Hey everybody and welcome to Project Wood. This is our first ever Christmas project where I'm going to attempt to build a Christmas crib with a pretty modern twist on it. So we probably won't have kits available for this until Christmas 2021, as this is pretty much close to Christmas 2020. So we've got a pile of different pieces of wood here, and I've got a pretty loose drawing of what I'm looking to kind of build. Pretty much identifiable as a crib, but it's more modern kind of take on it. We're going to try and put in a 6-pointed star in it as well. So if you like the video, please make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you can get updated with more Project Wood videos. And remember, all our kits are available in links below videos on the eBay store. Or if you don't want to buy kits, you can get a cutting list for each project by joining the Patreon crew in the description box below. We're also on Facebook as well, so you can check out the link there at Facebook. It's at Project Wood 2020. And we have Instagram as well. So we'll get things kicked off here. We'll start with probably the hardest piece, which is this sloping roof. So I've got a couple of pieces of wood here which look ideal for that. We'll just measure those up so you can match them up whenever you get a kit. We have one piece which is 220 millimeters by 180 by 15, and the other piece of wood is also 15 millimeters deep, 250 millimeters by 180 millimeters. So the goal here, just in a rough sketch, is to get kind of a 30-degree slant on each piece. We want them to slot into each other, probably 1/3 of the way up along. So we'll kind of have a long side and a short side. And I don't want to slide it all the way in, apart from the fact that it'll weaken the wood a lot. Just for the aesthetics and the look of it, I want it to go in about 2/3 of the way and to slot in about 2/3 of the way down. So that's what we'll take a look at first. So I've got a 30-degree set square here to help me set out some angles. I'm going to try and do it without a sliding bevel. A lot of people may not have a sliding bevel in their kits, so you might have one of these set squares or a smaller one in a mathematical set. Yourself or your kids might have one for school. Okay, so we'll take the first piece here, the one that is 220 long, and we'll come down maybe 7 centimeters, 70 millimeters. Just do a face side and face edge here as well. And we want to mark 30-degree angle on that just to get us set up. Something in that direction. Hopefully we're catching all this on the overhead camera. Okay, so make sure that's nice and square on the bottom. Use our steel ruler just to continue that line on. And we want to measure the thickness of our wood, which is 15 millimeters, but we'll just put it up to that line. Take a measurement off that. Again, as always, I'm using a pen here for the videos, but you should be using 2H pencil, something nice and light, easy to rub out. Now when we're cutting these out, we're dealing with laminate wood, so we won't make the joints over tight. That first piece there. So we want that to go down with our tri-square. So we're only going to be going in about a third of the way on this one, but we'll mark it all the way across anyway. And on the bottom, always mark both sides of the wood. It's good for accuracy. Now a joint with that kind of slope, it's more than likely going to be a little bit loose unless we cut it on a machine. But we have side supports probably that are going to help keep it up anyway. Okay, we might as well try and figure out how far we're going to go down there. So it's going to slide in. We're going to go about 2/3 of the way, so we'll take out 1/3 of the wood on this piece. So we'll go in 60mm. Again, if this doesn't look right, we can also go a little bit further later on. So in about 60mm there. A little bit more zoom on that. So we'll be taking all that out. And here. And we can mark 60 on the back as well. You can also bring your lines all the way around from the other side. But if you're careful with your ruler, it's no problem. Okay. Now we will probably have some nice designs on the end of the crib as well, but we'll worry about that later on. So that's the first piece. We'll now take the 250mm piece and mark similar. We want the same kind of angles going on. This time we're going to mark them on the back piece. So again, come down about 1/3, I suppose. So 250. Even if we come down 8 centimeters, 80mm. Again, this is a project you can change a lot of things on yourselves, different shapes on different corners, and different ways of putting it together if you feel like it. So that looks about right. So we need a 30-degree slope heading back to the right here. Now when you're working with angles, we'll definitely be measuring twice or 3 times and then cutting once. You want to make sure everything is spot on. Just measure the thickness of the wood then. And again, another 30-degree line on this side. Again, we're not going to get obsessed with the accuracy so much of these angles because they are difficult to do by hand and will require a lot of hand finishing and fitting later on. Now we want to bring that in 60mm as well. If you're cutting your own kits, make sure the pieces are very square so you can use a tri-square from both ends, not just from the face edge. And we mark that around the back as well. And coming in 6 centimeters. So we might change a few things in the design as we go along, but shouldn't be too difficult. Right, so I'm going to double check these. So this is the long part here. So that's going to go there, and that's going to slot nicely into that one there. Just make sure everything matches up. So everything looks good there. Okay, so that's the hard work on the roof, and we'll come back in a few minutes to have a look at the star that's going to sit on top of the large part of the roof here. Now for our 6-pointed star, we have a piece measuring 120 by 120 by 15, and you can use a compass to draw a circle on that, or something round. I've got a tin here that I'm going to use. So we just want to roughly find the center. Don't have a compass here with me, otherwise I would use it. So we want to draw an X, and then cross hairs like this. And then our 60-degree set square here is going to come in handy for us as well. So we normally draw a circle here with a compass as big as we possibly can, or we'll just get our can here and center it as best we can. So a star can be difficult enough to cut out, so there's going to be a lot of sanding involved with it anyway. And so compass is not exactly an essential thing there. So we move in our 60-degree set square. Zoom in a little bit more on that. And from the top of the circle, we want to do a 60-degree line all the way down to the edge of the circle. I'm going to repeat that from the other side. And just join those up. So you get an equilateral triangle. Just flip your wood around 180 degrees and repeat it again from the other side. So we go 60 degrees from the top, 60 degrees from the other side, and join those up. We should be able to see the 6-pointed star there now. Okay, so we'll be hand cutting that out. So to help us with that, we're just going to extend our lines, and they'll come in useful for when you're about to saw. But it's an easy way to draw a 6-pointed star. So I'll just shade that in so you can see it more easily. These are the bits you want to keep this time. Lovely hexagon in the middle. So a little bit of maths and technical graphics there. And that's your 6-pointed star marked out. And we'll cut that out later on, and that'll be attached to our roof. So next up we need to move on to the side supports. So we've got our 2 roof pieces, our star. So we're going to take a look at the uprights and the supports here at the back next. Okay, so we're going to look at the base of the crib here now, and we have two upright supports. Now the roofs are going to have 30-degree angle on them, so we are going to have to put a 30-degree slope on both the uprights, but we won't even mark those out until we have the roof cut out and put together, so that we can mark them in the right location and all that. Just to give it a kind of a more modern look there, we're going to step in one of the pillars here 15 millimeters, the same thickness as the wood, and we want to joint these down into the base. So we'll start off with the one on the right here. So we want to face side and face edge all these pieces as usual. So where possible, we try and use our tri-square off the face side and face edge. Okay, so we're going to come in 15 millimeters, which is the thickness of the timber from the end. And then we want to position our wood here on the edge, so we'll mark the thickness of that as well. And use your ruler on the side just to square everything up. Now we're going to mark full thickness, which is 70 millimeters of this piece. These uprights are 70 by 15, 70 by 20 by 175. And we want to take a halving joint out there. So we'll take a halving joint towards the center of the wood rather than the end, so that it's a stronger joint and doesn't mean that this wood is going to break at any point. So we'll be taking that piece out there. We'll mark that all the way around. So we're not going to get a lot of use of face side and face edge when you're using large boards, but we do our best with it. Just mark the thickness of the wood on the back as well. So we know all that piece is going to be coming out. Okay. So we also want to take off corresponding joint here on the upright. So we'll mark the depth of the timber. Bring that all the way around. We've done this joint in some of our other projects on Project Wood. Again, this is the first time we've put this particular design together, so we have to allow for things going possibly wrong now and again. So we'll mark 35 millimeters in on that one. It's always better wherever you can to use timber to mark the depth of the joint, or to get your thicknesses rather than just using a ruler. Wood is hygroscopic and it can swell up and down by a millimeter or two every day depending on the weather, the atmosphere in your room. Okay, so that's going to slot down there, so we want to remove the back piece here. That will give us a nice joint there for that upright. Right, so we do the same then on the left hand side. We'll face side and face edge this. Again, this is 70 by 20 by 175. Want this one going right to the back. Just mark our thicknesses and their depths. Again, these are cut out quite well on the saw, so we're not going to use any waste. If you're making a very high-end woodwork project, definitely go with waste. But for something made from pine and going to be sanded and finished well, probably won't need it on this one. We'll mark in 35mm halfway. Bring that all the way around. It's always amazing marking out, takes much shorter time than you think. Cutting it up is the enjoyable bit, and then you realise you have to spend the same amount of time again sanding and finishing. So that last stage is never to be rushed. When you sand and finish it, that will determine your overall look really. Okay, so we're going to slot that in. I think with this one we're just going to remove the wood at the back and use a screw as well. Putting a joint, as I said earlier, so close to the back here is going to severely weaken that wood. So therefore we'll remove the front here. And we'll be removing the back part of the joint here on the base. So that should be an easy one to remove, just a couple of saw cuts. You never want to make too many mortise joints in your projects. Quite difficult and take a lot of time. Okay, so that'll slot in nicely there, and this upright is going to slot in at the back. Now we're also going to need a pilot hole here in the center of this piece, because it's going to need a screw to secure it to the base. So we'll just draw an X from one corner to the other, and we'll be drilling a pilot hole through that location there. So then we'll be on to the last two pieces, which are mostly for decoration. These are not going to be holding up the roof in any shape or form. I'm just going to use one at the back to kind of create off a closed back on the crib, and we'll add one into the side here as well, and we'll put some curved work on those as well, just to make them look a little bit more modern and interesting. Okay, so just looking at the last two pieces here. This one on the back right, I'm going to, because it's such a long piece, we won't joint it in. We'll have a screw coming in from the back here, and one screw up from the bottom, or two screws up from the bottom. So we'll just line it up with the very back corner, and we'll draw around it. So we want two screws coming up evenly there. So we'll draw an X from one corner to the other. That'll find our halfway point. We'll put a tri-square on that. So now we have two equal rectangles. So we want to draw an X from one corner to the other in each of those little rectangles. And that will naturally find the dead center for our screws. Now, some woodworkers will be quite loose about just guessing where halfway is with the screws. If you get a lot of movement in your timber, your screws will come under pressure and can crack the wood, so it's as well do them nice and evenly. So that's two screw locations there. And we'll be putting in 1.5mm pilot bit through those to make the passage of the screw much easier. Now we also need screw coming in from the back piece here, so we can just measure the thickness, 20 millimeters of the piece it's going to join into. This one over here actually. Okay, so we'll bring that across with our tri-square, face side and face edge. And we need an X on that for a screw as well. Probably only needs one screw. So the addition of a few screws will give it extra strength as well. So that will have a pilot hole as well. That will sit nicely here now on the back. 2 screws from the bottom. And then we'll have a screw into our upright as well, so that will be very strong. So the upright will have the strength of the joint and the support of the back as well. For the other side, we're going to cut a joint. So this piece of wood is also 70 by 20 by 150. So we're just going to sit it in here against the side. So just keeping everything flush. This piece here flush against the back and this piece flush against the front. So that will show us how deep we need to go with our joint. So it's about 25 millimeters. So just bring that up along the wood. And something we have to bear in mind here is this piece is going to slot down into the base. So we need to actually just drop that down the side here first of all. And from that point then mark the height of our side. So that will give us the correct size for the joint there. We'll bring that around the back. Now we'll also have to bring it right over the end grain. Because it's about 24 millimeters, it's not a precise measurement. We need to make sure we just carry over what it actually is onto the back. Okay, so we're going to take out all that piece on the back. It's quite a large joint. You could do it as a half joint, but this is just going to look better in my eyes. Again, I love people to take the kits and adjust them to whatever way they want themselves. So that's going to fit in there nicely. Now, I do have a coping saw there, and I'm thinking about putting some nice curves on the sides just to give these a better look. Or we might just go for kind of ultra modern design where it's just all straight lines and take off a nice little angle here. So we can try that first, and if we don't like the look of it, we can still have enough timber left to do a bit of curved work. Okay. So I'll be looking at coming back maybe 80 millimeters, and maybe halfway down here, so maybe down to 30, maybe even. Just draw a line. So that's the kind of angle I'm looking at taking off there. Face side and face edge as always. And we'll bring that across. And across the end grain as well. Smaller tri-square would probably be much better there. And we join those up on the back. So we'll try it out with the ultra modern straight lines first and see how it goes. As I said, we have plenty of wood left there to change it to a curved design if we need. Now we'll do something similar with our piece over here on the right. So again, we can come in 80 millimeters and down 30. Again, you can have a much higher angle if you like yourself, or no angle. It's really personal choice on these pieces. Face side, face edge. Bring it over the end grain. And just mark it on the back as well, so that when we saw it, we can check for our accuracy, see if we need to improve our sawing technique. Okay, so that's that piece there. So now we loosely have all our pieces ready. So we will have, as I said earlier, some 30-degree angles to cut on the uprights, where our roof comes in at an angle, and we'll mark those probably when we have everything cut out. It's probably the last thing we're going to do, and we'll do that in the next video. And we'll have our star then as well to sit up nice and proud up here, nice and high. The base itself, because I'm going kind of with the angled approach here on the side pieces, I might put a matching angle here just in the front corner, not too deep, and that will blend in the whole design together. Let's see which way. Just take a little piece. Yeah, probably 80. We'll go with the same size, 80 by 30. Again, there's a lot of traditional cribs you can buy in shops. This one here is really going to look sleek and modern. I've got a couple of old cribs here which are very traditional. Lots of wood and bark on them, etc. And doesn't just make a nice change. Especially if I can get some nice wooden figures for it. So just join that up on the base as well. Some nice soft angle there on the front. Okay, I can see now with those angles that perhaps on the roof could be looking at doing something similar as well, but we'll decide that later on in the making video. Right, so that is all the marking out of what I would call the basic joints for the crib and the star. Next up is to get a nice wide chisel and to go around every single joint that we have on the project and scribe them out. So we'll take this one here as an example. So you want your chisel nice and sharp. Be careful when you're going in the direction of the lines on the wood and the grain that you don't press down too hard. You could split the wood. So we just want to mark right on the line, and as in previous videos, what we're doing here is breaking the grain on the wood. And when we go to saw that, it means lots of things. We get a nice clean edge, less chance of the wood breaking. You want to do it anywhere you have an X. You want to scribe around it. And it is one of the great secrets of good woodwork, that you scribe all your joints. Going across the grain, across the line.